Hi friends, I have another review for you. This is the Superlunaris Tarot. Superlunaris is probably the correct way to say it. And it does not have the creators' names on the box, does it? Oh, yes, but I can't read it. I'll have to... It looks like Jacob Schaffer and Jess Scholar. Is it on the creators? I recommend making it easy to read your names so that we can celebrate you. I will try to remember to put it in the comments. But anyway, this is a deck that I was encouraged to look at by a friend of mine. And it's interesting. So this is a deck that I passed... saw in my feed and did not respond to because I really do have a complicated relationship with collage decks. I have since I started reading. One of my early decks was the Gendron Tarot, which I find very creepy. And it sort of influenced my impression of collage decks, throughout history. And some of them work really well. The ones that I like the most tend to be non-human. But there are some that have worked for me. Something I find is there's something Uncanny Valley-esque about collage, digital collage in particular, where the lighting is always sort of surreal and it doesn't quite connect or feel human to me in a way. It sort of feels disconnected. So collage decks are tough for me. That said, when a person I trust says, you probably like this one, I will usually take a look at it because they're usually right. I do like this one. I do struggle with collage. I think that there are some cards in here that just hit me in an Uncanny Valley place. And I would say my big critique of this deck overall is the consistency in collaging. And I'll point out some ones to me that just feel a little... out of or disconnected, or it's subtle. It's me being nitpicky, but I'll point them out. But I do like the deck overall. It came with a cloth of the Moon card, so I never use these. They just sort of clutter up my bookshelf, sadly to say. But it did come with that, if you like that sort of thing. I prefer, when it comes in a tuck box, if you're going to give me something cloth, that it'd be a bag to put it in. But that's just me. So let's look at the deck. This cardstock is unlike anything I've ever experienced before, and I'll show you when I shuffle. I love it, but I can see someone mentioned on Instagram like they already bent a couple of the cards, and this is the kind of cardstock I think if you bend the card, there's not really a lot of recovering from it. So it's interesting. I've never seen a non-slippy matte linen finish like this before that feels like paper, not like plastic. It's really interesting. A beautiful back, I think is really pretty. Just a little pamphlet that comes with the deck. It's not even a little white book, which is fine. Especially with a deck that's fairly traditionally Waite Smith in the depiction. And it's a collage deck. It has an array of bodies and ages and races and skin tones, and I think in that regard it's really successful. I think again the cardstock is really cool. The colors are really beautiful. I will say, too, as I was just putting the deck back in order, because I've been working with this, when I read at my desk and I do my little Instagram readings, I'm very close to the cards because I have bad posture and it's just the nature of my desk. When I'm at my reading table making a video, or even when I'm at the markets, I'm sitting up a little straighter and I'm farther away from the cards, and that creates distance, which unifies them a little bit more. So, but I think it's a really gorgeous deck. Some of them, I guess the thing is, like, some of them feel like collage, some of them feel like paintings, and some of them feel like photographs. And that's the thing that I'm, just as a general critique, is a thing that is maybe less successful to me. But again, I wouldn't be talking about it if I didn't think it was over. This is the color scheme of this Empress is gorgeous. I think this is amazing. I just love that bright, rich. I mean, the colors are incredibly sexy in this deck. I cannot fault at that. So, very modern Emperor. This is one of those that, to me, lives in that Uncanny Valley space. If you don't know that phrase, it's something they use in video games, animation, where something looks so real that it almost feels scarily unreal. So there are a couple cards in this deck that do that. Not a lot, but enough that I'm pointing it out. I've talked about this before. If you're going to put sort of one disabled person in a deck, don't put a chariot on the wheelchair on the chariot. We've sort of seen it before, but it's fine. You know, I guess it's better than no disabled people in a deck, but certainly disabled people can be strength, or the, you know, Five of Cups, or any of the other cards in the deck. Certainly. So the chariot feels like the easy choice, and maybe that's why people go to it, but it's like, it doesn't have to not be the chariot, it just shouldn't be the only one. One thing about, I really don't like this Wheel of Fortune card. This just looks like the Roy Smith Wheel of Fortune card with a filter, like an Instagram filter on it. You know, and I'm just going to be blunt about those cards that don't work for me, because the rest of the deck is so good that when something like this shows up and it really just looks like a filter, then I'm sort of meh about it. But again, I like this deck. There's a thing that happens in Modern Tarot where, like, we take the hard cards and we neuter them by making them the suspended one. You know what I mean? Or even death is frequently happens too. And it's fine, like, it's a choice. It's just that I feel like we have to be able to talk about the hard cards, the hard times in life, as much as the good ones, and that, like, Modern Tarot seems to be so interested in sort of taking away the hard stuff and making it into something sort of Lululemon-esque. And to me, it's unfortunate, you know, because when it comes to death, for example, I love this. I think it's beautiful. I mean, forest fires are a terrifying reality, but they're also a necessity for the sustained health of a forest. Now, we as humans have come along and built our houses there, and it becomes a whole other thing. So this is actually a really beautiful depiction of death. But so often it just becomes this sort of, like, thing where it doesn't mean anything. It's renewal. It's, you know, renewal is hard. You know what I mean? The one thing that I will say about the Golden Dawn is that they understood that transformation is painful, and that even the Hanged Man is going through something transcendent but painful. They would do these mock deaths, something that shamans and seekers throughout history have learned, that transcendence, transformation, experiencing one's divinity requires a brush with death that changes your vision of life. So I will give the Golden Dawn credit for understanding that. I wish it's something that more, and I'm speaking broadly about decks now, I'm sort of inspired by this deck to say that, but I really like this Devil card a lot. Do you know, but I guess the point I'm making is, like, death isn't just a renewal, you know what I mean? It is something that has to be explored and lived with, and certainly in white European culture, we have a very fucked up relationship to it. And if you want to know more about why, I would visit the Ask a Mortician YouTube channel, who's one of my favorite YouTubers. So yeah, I was just sort of riffing on the idea of kind of making decks that are modern feel a little avoiding difficulty with the Hanged Man and Death in particular. That's a beautiful Judgment card. I love that. And also a beautiful World card. The aces in this deck I think are really gorgeous for some reason. I don't know what they did that makes them so beautiful, but they are beautiful. The courts are largely really successful too. Again, this is another one where, like, the layering of the collage makes me feel a little uncomfortable. This feels so much more like a painting than the previous one. I don't even know if you can see in the video, but it is the thing that I would say, like, the consistency throughout of how the cards were constructed. It's not jarring, it doesn't take you out of it, but it is something that I've noticed. Maybe that was intentional, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. Certainly it's not too much that I wouldn't use it. I have been using this the last few days. So yeah, like I love this Page of Wands. It's so cool. Queen of Wands. I think the King of Wands too are all very kind of cool. Yeah. Salamander. Suit of Cups. I love this Two of Cups. I don't know what it is about it, but I love it. Now this card I don't love because it reminds me of an ad for suntan lotion or something. Like this is a place again where the collaging doesn't really work for me. The energy of it feels a little magazine. You know, it's a personal thing. But as soon as I saw it, it just felt like a magazine ad for like sandals or something. And then there's this, which is gorgeous. You know what I mean? So it's like the inconsistency is interesting. It's not the end of the world, and I certainly like the inclusivity of it. But it just is a thing that makes me go, oh, you know. Some of these cards are so sort of painterly. Like this one is another one that feels like it has a filter on it. In a really strong way. The Eight of Pentacles is another one that does. This one does too. And some of them don't, and it's weird. And I know that art will evolve over the creation of a deck. It's just a thing that I'm pointing out as a thing that has struck me, you know what I mean, about the deck. Overall, I think it's beautiful. I particularly like this King of Cups too. The aces I really like. I really like this two. I really like this three, believe it or not. This one I'm a little less wild about. This again feels like stock photo with a filter on it. And I know that's a brutal thing to say, but it is how it looks to me. Now, you are going to find inconsistencies in style in a collage deck because collages by nature found pieces of something that are woven together to create something else. And so that's an inevitability, right? But again, when I say like, oh, this looks different or out of character for the deck, it's because it is so, it's maybe like there is a filter on all of them that was used to sort of unify the image, and some of them they're too strong for my taste. You know, sometimes they could have been a little subtler. I love this Two of Pentacles. I love this guy's suit. This one weirds me out a little bit. Yeah, the filter on this is really strong. So again, it's probably as strong as that Wheel of Fortune. So I don't know if that was intentional, but this is beautiful and subtle. So it's weird. I don't know. I love this Page of Pentacles. This Queen is pretty rad, as is the King. Now let's talk, so a beautiful deck, you know, and again, it's a review, so I'm going to tell you things that don't work as well for me. The shuffling of this deck is so bizarre. It makes the sound that I've never heard a deck make. It's like, can you hear that? It's like the wind. You may not be hearing it as well as I was earlier because I'm not shuffling as well. But it feels really good to shuffle. It's almost a deck that demands a bridge. Like a lot of decks I can riffle shuffle, but they don't bridge well. This sort of lives in the bridge in a way. It's really sort of exciting. Interestingly, it does not overhand as well. It's fine. It's just it clumps a little more than other decks do. But shuffling it, riffling it is so satisfying. Let's just lay it out so we can see it in action. Let's move my pal. And again, since I'm sort of sitting at a distance from it, the differences of the style, for lack of a better term, are less apparent to me. But they're there. It's a really sweet sun card. Oh, there's our Two of Cups that I love. So really kind of gorgeous. I'll definitely be having this out and working with it and experimenting with it for sure. I'm curious to see, you know, I probably won't bring it to the October market because it's the Halloween market, and I'm probably going to use some, you know, spookier themed decks, so I won't really probably get to use this at the market until the new year, but it's cool for sure. Definitely challenges some of my bias against collage. And some of the cards confirm my bias, but I do think it's a successful deck overall, and I really enjoy it. And the cardstock, again, is so cool. But again, I can see if you bend this, it being kind of devastating. So that is the Superlunaris Tarot. And again, I will try to remember to put the creators' names in the comments below because I can't read the font that they're written in on the box. Advice to creators, make sure we can see your names because you deserve it. All right, be good.